We're back with another edition of Cooking in the Art Room. Today's tasty bite is the joys of mixing colors. When we share a painting like this with our students and ask them what color the stems are, they're going to say green. This painting by New Brunswick artist Irene Tompkins uses so many different greens though. And when you ask students to explain how she makes all the stems stand out, how she makes the leaves stand out, how does she create all those greens, they have lots of ideas. And it's wonderful to let them try themselves. So instead of passing them a container of green paint, you can give them the challenge to try to mix as many different greens as possible. This makes for a wonderful exploratory exercise before beginning a painting project. We know that yellow and blue will make green. You can give them small amounts of yellow and blue and ask them how many different greens can you make from this. Each new green can be sampled on a sample paper until they collect a variety of colors. Then you can throw in some other ideas, like how do we lighten that color or darken that color? What if we added white or black to those colors? And that makes for more discoveries. One of the things you might want to share with your students is that when you're mixing colors, it's a whole lot easier to start with the lightest color and add darker to it. So start with white and add a little bit of green to it. Start with green and add a little bit of black to it. Always go from lighter to darker. You're going to find that you get more control that way. So that's going to give us a whole new range of colors. But we can totally rock their world by suggesting that they use the opposite color to change the color of green. Well, we'll have a look at our color wheel and we see that the opposite of green is red. What happens when we use a complementary color, an opposite color, to mix with a color? You're going to get wonderful new shades of the color. You're going to get the deep forest greens and the olive greens that you really need to make your forest or your flower or your garden as varied as possible. It's really wonderful to see what happens when you let them explore and discover their own colors. And something that inevitably they will discover is that sometimes the color isn't green. So it leads to the question is, when does the color stop being green? When does it become gold or purple or brown? And it doesn't matter whether the painter is a teacher who's exploring color mixing or a second grader who's discovering these things for the first time. The magic is there. These second graders aren't just sampling their colors on their own sample pages. They've drawn one big tree and everyone is adding a leaf for every green color they made, and they get a collection of all the greens made by the entire class. That's kind of a fun addition to this project. This kind of color exploration, the experimentation, the mixing of colors, the new discoveries, that's something you can spend some time on. There's no need to rush it. It's okay to spend a full class just working on that. And then once they have it, they'll start channeling it into their work. Like these two little groups who are working on a mural background together. Look at all those wonderful greens. It's wonderful to see how they channel that into their own artwork afterwards. There's a little landscape painting started by one of those second graders, and you can see they're adding all the wonderful greens in the background and really making each shrub and bush and tree stand out from each other with a different shade of green. And like this one as well. The wonderful thing about letting students mix their colors is that sense of discovery. And then they start to see the world in all of the details that are there. Instead of just seeing trees as green, they recognize that there are many shades of green, and they get excited about adding those things to their paintings. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Cooking in the Art Room. Happy painting, everyone.